Agathon. Agathon, the great tragedian, in his whole speech, Agathon starts out by saying that he is going to talk about the nature of the God, because he calls love a God. And he says, I'm going to talk about God. Not the things, you're not going to praise him for the things that we receive from him, the gifts, but what he causes. Of course, he doesn't keep that. So he starts his speech by saying, I say then that all gods are happy, not man. All gods are happy. I'm skipping. Oh, no, I won't. Okay, I'll continue it. I say then that all gods are happy, but it is lawful to say this without offense. I say that love is the happiest of them all, being most beautiful and best. All right, so therefore love is beautiful and best. Now, he's now going to try to give a proof for that. Well, he doesn't give one word for proof. He says one proof is that the God of love must be the youngest. And the great proof is that he flies away from old age. His idea of love is that love hates old age. He says love is very much like ate, A-T-E, Homer's view. He says, I want to talk about the God's tenderness. He says, I should describe ate. She was a god and tender. And the proof is that tender are her feet. She comes not near the ground, but walks upon the heads of men. And that's his move to humor. Tender are her feet because she doesn't walk on the ground but walks upon the heads of men. He says, I think he gives good proof of her tenderness, that she walks not on the hard but on the soft. Then let us use the same proof for love. So it turns out to be comic. But you see, when a tragedian goes comic, he then has to go down. He has to give up understanding. And he has to present these two. That's what the comic is. Comic writer is there. Therefore, when the tragedian moves into comedy, he goes down into his art and has to give up understanding. Now, Socrates, on the other hand, for Socrates and philosophy, it's essential that contemplation plays a major role, as it does in Socrates' speech. You have to contemplate the nature of beauty. And then in a sudden experience, one beholds a beauty marvelous in its nature. That beauty, marvelous in its nature, he calls the perfection of beauty. It's the perfection of beauty. It's the perfection of beauty. What does it do to the person then who gains it? There in life and there alone, my dear Socrates, is life worth living for man while he contemplates beauty itself. That is therefore beauty and happiness, the end of life. This is what life is about. And this is why life is worth living for man, because it's possible to experience that. Therefore, since this beauty is so staggering in its glow and the experience of it, there has to be a love for it once it's then glimpsed. Because love is awakened when you see something beautiful. When everything you see is beautiful, you're going to wake up to it. If you wake up to it, that's love, because the desire for the beautiful is love. Therefore, the nature of reality is beauty itself in the Platonic world. That's the experience, beauty in itself. But this doesn't help us in any way, because it doesn't help us with our problem. Remember our early problem? Why does it follow that if you do experience this beauty, which is an insight into the nature of the real, do you not reflect that there only it will be possible for him when he sees the beautiful with the mind which alone can see it, to give birth not to likenesses of excellence or virtue, since he touches no likeness, but to reality, since he touches reality? Well, okay. And the nature of that experience, called the perfection of beauty, is an insight into the nature of reality. That reality, therefore, is perceived only by the mind only. It is a knowing. This then becomes the model for knowing. It can't be seen by the audience. They can hear about it. Therefore, we can stand as an audience in awe of another's growth and development. And it gives us a hint as to our own goal. Now, there is something comic about the philosopher. Every philosopher has something comic about them, because there is a chaos around them, because they're not spending their time making sure that the world is ordered and successful. I mean, that's just the way it is. They're doing something else, and therefore they have to pay for that. Therefore, there's always a conflict between the tragedian and the philosopher, because the tragedian can never understand why it is that the philosopher would allow a certain kind of disorder to exist around him. In Socrates' case, he knows that. He says, yeah, that's true. That's what happens. That's right. That's right. That's what happens. And therefore, there's always a difficulty for these two types to mingle. But look at it the other way. The philosopher had to start out ignorant, a comic figure. He had to discover the beliefs that he had. Therefore, he had to move out of being a comic figure into a tragic figure until finally he reaches the knowing state. And to go through that, he has to take another look at his own sexuality, beauty, mind, love, perfection, in an entirely different way. The only way he can do it is by trying to understand going backwards. It's from this experience that he can then understand that what he formerly thought either aided him, helped him gain this vision, or not. Therefore, it's always a return backwards and restating what it was that allowed this vision to take